What's up guys, and welcome to today's video. So today we're going to be looking back at one of my very first videos essentially. We're going to be looking at the Boohoo group and where its share price has really gone since the allegations and since I uploaded my first video. I did say I would do an update video, so this is it. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, and if you're not subscribed, please consider. We are almost at 21 subscribers, so I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but pretty big. Anyway guys, let's get on to the video. So guys, I'm basically just gonna wrap up the summary of my video.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
So guys, to recap what really happened, the day after I released the video, the share price of Boohoo was hit on two fronts. It was hit on the front of the second outbreak in the UK due to its factories in Leicester potentially being a cause of a second outbreak, and then you had the allegations around slavery, which really didn't help the share price. It completely nosedived straight into the ground, down so far. So yeah, I released that, and then that was potentially the next day. So I was singing the praises of the company, which I still think is valid if it can pull off the magic Houdini magic and get out of this scenario. But let's see where it is now. So guys, let's first of all look at the share price. So when we kind of came up from basically March time, you know, it was really on a massive rise, because if we look from March here, online sales, because of all the department stores were closed, so it was on a massive rise in terms of, and so was other online retailers, you know, such as Amazon or ASOS. And then I released my video around here, so around this time. So just as the share price was going above £4 a share, which was great. And then the allegations came, and we crashed right the way down to 224 here. Then we had a little bump up, but then a massive dip down. However, from its lows of 210 here, it's actually been on quite a rise since, so it's been rallying as the share price is going up. And I think this is after the initial shock of the allegations. People were kind of still looking at the fundamental business and seeing that if the allegations against it weren't true, it's actually a very cheap price here of just over £2. So we saw it rise. However, when the allegations did hit, we did see a number of massive investment companies like Standard Life Aberdeen dump their shares in it. So one of Boohoo's biggest shareholders has dumped almost all of its stock in the fashion company and criticised its response to the allegations of poor working conditions in its supply chain. So it's been under kind of criticism from the investors and a lot of the big firms, the financial firms who bought, you know, masses of masses, not the retail investors, but the massive institutions had bought obviously large chunks. So when they pull out, it dramatically does affect the price of the shares. So having spoken to Boohoo's management team a number of times this week, in light of recent concerning allegations, we view that their response as inadequate in scope, timeliness and gravity. So yeah, I mean, the big financial firms have just come out, and it's not just SLAs, but if we go down here, it's kind of affecting other firms. So you've got Legal & General, which I'll come into in a sec. You've got Man Group, JP Morgan pulled out as well, and that's a massive American bank, and I think that's something to be aware of, that they are, you know, very good at the investment game long term. So yeah, so you had massive amounts of these institutions pull out, completely dropping the share price down below. What happened, or what did we see? So you actually had some of them stay in. So you've had Gavin Launder from Legal & General, who I'm a big fan of, actually sticking by and standing by Boohoo here. So what they were saying was, looking back at various meetings, even before we were actually invested 3 years ago, we'd had conversations about the supply chain at every meeting, not just in the UK, but everywhere else, knowing that complex supply chains are vulnerable to various abuse at some point. We've been pushing Boohoo on this all the time. It would be well aware of that this is a potential Achilles heel for the business. So what they're saying is during the discussions of Legal & General investing in Boohoo, they were continuously talking about the supply chain, and Boohoo wouldn't be not aware of the issue itself. And so they have decided to stay in pending the results of the investigation, which I'll cover in just a sec. But when the story broke a few weeks ago, I was a little sceptical it would be so obvious abusing labour, and it turns out there were some inaccuracies in the article. So this was the article by the Sunday Times where they made the allegation around minimum wage and basically the factory workers in Boohoo being paid £3.50, which isn't very much. But yeah, so you've got Legal & General standing by. And so why is Legal & General standing by? They do believe in Legal & General, Boohoo long term, as it's in the growth trust that Legal & General run. But yeah, what is everybody really waiting for? They're waiting for the independent review. So the independent review was initiated by Boohoo to understand the actual allegations themselves and is an independent review of their supply chain. Let's dive in. Let's take a closer look. So the Boohoo Group PLC published this morning the terms of reference with regards to the independent review of its Leicester supply chain, led by Alison Levitt, QC, as previously announced on the 8th of July. So the purpose of this independent review is to consider the group's obligations and relevant duties of care in relation to the workforce of its Leicester supply chain. The group will act decisively on the independent review's findings and look to embed its recommendations into its strategic planning to help restore confidence in the Leicester's garment industry and increase transparency of all our stakeholders. So I think this is something that I don't think Boohoo really rushed into. When the allegations came out, it was a couple of days before Boohoo really said anything. And I think what they were doing is, understanding that the company was in a bit of a pickle and, doing the correct thing and getting an independent reviewer to come and actually check if these allegations are true. So I think these are really important, like what are the objectives of the review? So the objectives of the review, there are 4 core objectives of the independent review. Number 1, to investigate the allegations made in relation to Leicester's supply chain and determine whether they are well-founded. So are people getting mistreated? Is it minimum wage? Basically, is there slavery inside their workshops? If they are, to consider the extent at which the Boohoo Group monitored its Leicester supply chain and had knowledge of the allegations, and this is really important, is if the management had awareness of this and was still running the business, that's an absolute no-no, and I would obviously get out straight away. I mean, you can't have this stuff and be aware of it, and I think it's one of those things where it's very difficult to, in today's world, you should be aware of it if it was happening. Like, I'd be very surprised if the management weren't aware of mistreatment of its employees. But yeah. And then number 3 is to consider the Boohoo Group's compliance with the relevant law and to make any recommendations for the future in response to those findings. So basically any improvements the organisation can make. But yeah, this independent review, so the group will provide an update on the findings of the report with its half-year results for the 6 months ending the 31st of August on the 30th of September. And I think this is really will be a turning point in the kind of the share price of Boohoo, because when the results of this independent report get released, I think there will either, if they are positive and there were no findings, that will be a massive kind of, I see a massive rally behind the shares in that case. However, if there are significant findings, I think a lot of the remaining large investors will pull out. So it's something to be aware of. So guys, that's all I have for you today. It was just a quick update on Boohoo. I think it's definitely something to keep an eye on, and especially around 30th September when the independent review gets out, and I will obviously be doing a video straight after that on this. Enjoy your weekend. Go and enjoy the nice cold breeze we've been getting in the UK, because it's been exceptionally hot, and I cannot wait to just get out and get some fresh air. Anyway guys, catch you on the next one.